Hello everybody, I hope you guys are all enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your Blizzard Jacob forecast, which is going to be impacting parts of the central and eastern United States with a bit of snowfall and ice, as well as a little bit of rainfall on the southern side of this storm. This storm is going to be tracking from Wyoming and Colorado today into parts of the Great Lakes, through Canada and back into Maine, and then back again into Canada. And you're going to have this high pressure system that's going to be moving farther south. That's going to be allowing a bit of cold air to dip into parts of the northeast and allow for a little bit of snow for a short period, and that's where you could squeeze out a couple of inches of snowfall. We're also going to be covering parts of the north central and Great Lakes states, where you could be also picking up 6 to 10 inches in some areas, and experiencing blizzard conditions in areas further out west into the Dakotas, Minnesota, and into Iowa as well. So we are going to start off with the National Weather Service. Moving from west to east, we have winter storm watches, winter weather advisories, and winter storm warnings. In those pinks, you have winter storm warnings. In the purples, you have winter weather advisories, winter storm watches. In the blues, now you have those over the Pacific Northwest, as well as the northern and central Rockies, and also the we have some winter or some wind chill advisories over North Dakota and Montana. We also have some high wind watches and high wind warnings over parts of the central and western United States. The dividing border between the eastern Rockies and the plains is where you're seeing those high wind watches and warnings. We also have some winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and winter storm watches, as well as some blizzard warnings in those reds over parts of the Dakotas and into Nebraska, Iowa, and a little bit of Minnesota as well. Now, we have a good wide swath in these purples where you're seeing winter weather advisories, and then more winter storm warnings as you get further east, and winter storm watches as well over parts of northern New England, as well as a little pocket here of wind chill advisories over parts of northern Maine. Now we are going to get into the European model here, and this is going to be our only model that we're looking at in this video. I of course looked at many models while creating my forecast here, but they're pretty much agreeing on the same thing, and it's not really necessary to look at 7 different models. We only have to look at just one to really get a good handle of what's going to be going on. So here, this would be for Friday afternoon, or this afternoon, basically getting into your evening commute time. You're seeing we have a little bit of snow breaking out over parts of the north central United States, ice breaking out near the St. Louis area, Missouri, southern Illinois, seeing a little bit of ice there, and then some rain as you get farther south into the south central United States. Now, as we continue this snow, this would be for Saturday very early in the morning, even into Friday late at night. So right around your midnight time period, you're seeing some snowfall still over in the north central United States, reaching all the way up into Canada, and then you're seeing you're starting to see this band of moisture, and there is quite a bit of convective energy with this band here that I did look at, and it's going to be moving through. So as this band right here starts to move through the northeast, you're going to get quite a little bit of snow. You're going to get at least a solid coating of snowfall, and then your band is really going to fill in behind it, and you're going to see a little bit more snowfall. So this would be Saturday right around 2 or 3 a.m. depending on your time zone, and we're starting to see snowfall moving into the northeast as we get into your Saturday morning. Pretty much everyone's awake by this period, and you're seeing snow starting to move into New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, and now moving into New Jersey and into Connecticut, Massachusetts, as we get into your Saturday night, or kind of your Saturday 1 to 3 p.m. time period. And then as we get into your Saturday late at night, you're starting to see that snow move more into New England, and starting to see that rain snow line start to creep a little bit further north as we get into your Sunday morning, and then it's going to really transition to an all northern New England system before departing by Sunday afternoon, and just leaving some lake effects snow showers with those very strong northwest winds coming down out of Canada. It's also going to be a very cold day over much of the country on the day after this storm departs, as it brings in those northwest winds, and that will allow for some pretty cold air to come in to the United States from Canada. Now, Here is your total ice forecast here, and you're seeing we have quite a little good band here from Kansas into Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois, and then also into parts of the valleys near the Appalachian Mountains, where you are seeing close to 2/10 of an inch to a half an inch of ice, which is going to definitely accumulate on those roadways and cause a lot of problems, especially if you are traveling in those areas. Now here is your total snowfall, and you see in those grays, you're seeing under from 1/10 of an inch of snowfall to 2 inches of snowfall. In the blues, you're seeing 2 to 6 inches. In the purples, you're seeing about 6 to 10 inches, and then in those pinks, you're seeing about 12 to up to about 2 feet of snowfall. So here's your snowfall map. You are seeing we have a good swath of about 2 to 6 inches, and that's for much of the north central U.S. into the Great Lakes, and then also into the Northeast. We have those lake effect pockets where you are seeing over 6 inches of snowfall, at least according to the European model. But most of these models are indicating a pretty good banding of some lake effect over these areas. Now we are going to get into my personal forecast here that I did hand draw. Now this is going to include my snowfall forecast, my ice forecast, and my rainfall forecast, as well as my storm track here. So we are going to get into it right now. Here's my projected storm track. You see, it's going to track through into from Colorado. You have two low pressures. You have one right here, and you have a weaker one to the south. I kind of put it right in the middle of those two. And you see it's going to track pretty much through Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, and into northern Michigan, and then back through into Canada, and then into Maine as well. Here is your first layer. This is where you're going to be experiencing mountain snow. Now, I explained this multiple times. I really don't have the time to, especially these areas closer to the mountains and the Rockies. I don't have the time to kind of color code each individual area because it is so elevation dependent. Check out your National Weather Service and they'll give you a detailed forecast for your exact location, and they give you a very precise snow amount. So if you do live in those areas, definitely check out your National Weather Service. It would just be almost impossible for me to color code each area with how elevation dependent all of those are. Now, we are going to get into your coating to an inch layer here in this light blue. So everywhere in this coating to an inch layer is going to be at least experiencing a coating. Now, the models have shifted south. If you did notice, this coating to an inch line has moved a bit further south from yesterday, but nothing tremendous here. Now, here's your 1 to 3 inch line. Now, this has also trended a little bit further south here. And this is stretching from really Nebraska, going through the north central United States into the Great Lakes, and then into parts of the Northeast as well. Here's your 3 to 6 inch layer, and this is where it's starting to get a little bit more significant. And this is really for parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, and into Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and through Ohio, Pennsylvania, and into parts of the Northeast, so New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine as well. Now, here's where you have your 6 to 12 inch layer, and this can be over parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and back through into Wisconsin and Michigan, and then also through into parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and into Vermont. Now, this is where you are really going to be impacted with those lake effect bands, and where you could see a little bit more snowfall because the intensity is going to, of course, pick up over those areas, and you are going to be in those colder environments where you could see a little bit more in the way of time with the snow. Now, here is where your ice is going to fall. Here's my ice forecast. You see we have under 1/10 of an inch anywhere in this lightest pink shade. Now, this is stretching from the south central United States and through the Ozarks, as well as a little part of the southernmost Appalachians. Now, here is your 1/10 of an inch to a 1/4 of an inch area, and it's going to be over Kansas and Missouri. Now, of course, these areas are going to get a little bit of ice as well as these areas, but my snow does get overlaid on top of my ice, so it is a little bit hard to kind of differentiate because they do get overlaid on top of it. So that's just how my map is made out. So just know that if you do live in these areas or these areas, you could be picking up at least 1/10 of an inch, a little bit more, and that was again showcased in the beginning part of the video when I showed you those ice totals. Now, here is where you're experiencing a little bit of rainfall, under an inch here, primarily for parts of the south central United States and into parts of the southeastern United States. Now, this isn't going to be a big rainmaker. Your low pressure is all the way into Michigan Oregon for most of this event, so and even into southern Canada. So you're not going to get a lot of rainfall down here. You are going to get touched a little bit here with some rainfall, but it's not going to be anything really crazy. So that's why it's really only going to be under an inch. Maybe a couple isolated areas, especially further to the north, could get a little bit more, maybe an inch of rainfall, but definitely under an inch for most of these areas. So that is going to wrap up this video. If you did enjoy this video, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, because I do make these videos daily, and it'll help you get notified when I do post these. Anyways, guys, this was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.